Microphone check, 1 2 1 2. Yeah, man is in the building. Just in time to introduce my man. First and foremost, this brother in his own right is remarkable. He's a shining example of black fatherhood, a wonderful husband. I put him up on a pedestal when it comes to a black man and his family. This brother, Miguel Lloyd of Lloyd Media Group, is a community servant, a brother who has showed up for the Atlanta Black Chambers for the almost 6 years that I have been in leadership. And so, ladies and gentlemen, without any further delay, I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Miguel Lloyd, CEO of Lloyd Media Group. And as he takes his seat, I'm going to get to the good part. See, I'm not the good part. You're a part of the good part, no doubt. But this brother right here, and I've just had opportunity to meet him briefly, can't wait to cultivate a real relationship between his entity and the Atlanta Black Chambers. But he is one of the youngest CEOs, and I love this. What it says right here, building the world's largest black storytelling engine on the planet. My man, that's how we communicate. Big, bold, unafraid, unapologetically black. You fit right in around here. A little bit more about my main man before I say his name. CEO of REVOLT, America's fastest growing black-owned media company. Now, he is just the second brother that I have met personally. The first one, dear good friend of mine, shout out to Joel Dixon. But this brother is a Stanford University alum. Man, that is super fly, all the way on the West Coast here in Atlanta. Only the second brother that I've met who's a Stanford University alum. But hey, my main man, Detavio Samuels, welcome to the stage, brother.
He's also a member of the greatest fraternity ever made.
Greatest on the planet.
Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
I might have something to say about that.
Yeah, they're one of your brothers right there. You're right there in the front. Right there in the front.
I didn't know if he was volunteering for Kappa or saying he was something different.
It's so funny. I was going to play a joke on him, right? I was going to put the bio in there, and the last line was going to be, you know, hey, remember the greatest fraternity, see if I was going to get him to read it. But anyway, man. So we're going to get into this conversation. Let me turn this way, because me and this brother, we've been friends for a minute.
We go way back.
We go back. No, so that is going to be recorded. We're going to use that for they can hear.
Oh, I got to do all of the above.
Got
How
you.
this sound?
Hey, man, we got you in the building, man. We can't do it halfway.
I got it. I love it.
Yo, so Detavio and I met Bentonville, Arkansas. Anybody who knows, everybody says, what were you doing living in Bentonville, Arkansas?
There's only one reason you go to Bentonville.
Walmart. And as an entrepreneur living in Bentonville, Arkansas, you know how much of a struggle it was for me. But the relationships that I have, starting with yourself and brothers like other frat brothers we have that are doing amazing things, man. Brother Friesen, some of the other folks, you know, like, man, with that's a whole nother story. But we had I don't know if you remember this, we had lunch one time, man. We really got into not only the business, but personal and the struggles of trying to balance these careers and whys and all this type of stuff. And that's something, we'll get into that later. But I want to start off, you're from Colorado.
Originally from Colorado, born and raised.
You're from Colorado, which people think black folks are not in Colorado.
That's what they say all the time.
Which is a lie.
And it is a lie.
It is a lie. My family's in Arizona, some in Arizona, and it's black folks out there as well.
My dad was in Utah. There are no black people in Utah. So whenever people say there's no black people in Colorado, I'm like, oh, you must not have ever been to Utah.
Never been to Utah.
It's a stark difference.
Absolutely. But what made you decide that this was going to be your career? You could have started off, you know, great undergraduate degree, as we mentioned, started undergraduate at Duke, master's from Stanford, education. You were very intentional with your education. and now you're doing this. Tell us about how that directionally came together and why you're doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, okay. A couple of thoughts. So how do I get? So first and foremost, I didn't do any of this on purpose, right? Meaning, I think that the job, like what your dreams and what your goals do, is set you on a path and in a direction. And for me, my goal has always been to be directionally accurate, right? So I may not be perfect, but I want to get better and better. Right. And so when I came out of Duke, my dream was to become a CMO. So I'm pointing myself in this direction, right? Most CMOs had MBAs. That means I had to go get an MBA. Most people go to business school at 26. I was 21. I didn't want to wait till then, so I went at 22. Coming out of that, I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug. You can't go to Stanford and not want to start your own company. So
interesting.
Coming out of Stanford, I was both doing global marketing at Johnson & Johnson and starting what I thought was going to be this massive company to take over the world. Okay. One of my first failures, if you ever want to talk about that one.
Failure as an entrepreneur? Come on, man.
Yeah, I have like 100 of them. So what happens is at that point in time, I go, okay, I'm at Johnson & Johnson. This is not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. I want to be on the agency side of the business. I felt like the people on the marketing side were just good filters, and I didn't want to be a good filter. I wanted to be on the side of the people who were generating the ideas and the strategies that could move business. And so from there, I jumped to advertising. So I wanted to be a CMO. Now I'm doing advertising.
Okay.
While I'm doing advertising, a couple years in, I get bored with advertising. Essentially, I get tired of making what every brand wants to make, which is 30-second spots. So we start doing branded entertainment, right? We saw, I was in New York. We saw black and brown kids running around New York with these Beats by Dre headphones in that look different from everybody else. This is way back, like 2010-ish, right?
Oh, that's like ancient.
Yeah, it's way back. And we convinced the CMO of Chrysler to put Beat speakers in Chryslers, Dodges, and Jeeps. And then we marketed it through music videos. So that was like my first taste at branded entertainment, right? Yep. And so here I am making commercials that nobody wants to see, but then I make a Will.i.am commercial that 30 million people choose to watch. I make a Carly Rae Jepsen music video that's probably got 200 million views, right? So I start falling in love with this idea of branded entertainment. We ink a deal with Lenny Kravitz and do a mini movie, pull 6 commercials out of it. So now I'm going, I thought I wanted to be a CMO. I really want to be in advertising. Oh, this branded content thing is like a thing. And so then that sets me up to say, I want to be in the content game. I want to be in a space where people are choosing to consume the content that I create. And so from there, I leave and go work with Alfred Liggins and Kathy Hughes at Urban One. Yep. And that's what put me in the media space. So I said all of that to say I was intentional in my dreams and in my goals, but there's not a part of me that believes that I know it all or that I have it all right. And so for me and everything that I do, my goal is to set myself to be directionally accurate. I'm a very spiritual person, so to stay with my frequency here so that when it's time to pivot or move, I'm ready to do that. And then each one of those things, I felt like new breadcrumbs showed up. And so I left that thing to go follow and find something that would be a tighter fit for who I am. And I would say that Revolt is the tightest fit that I've had in my entire career.
How old are you, bro?
I'm old, 41. That's
right. No, because it's not, because you're not old. That's one of the things that you just shot through Johnson & Johnson, Chrysler, Jeep, all while working with Global Hue, right? And then there was the run with Kathy Hughes and TV One. And while you were there, you basically launched their internal advertising agency while you were there, right? And so all before you were 35 years old, roundabout, right? Very intentional with what you're doing. And that's the reason why I stay connected with you, because a lot of things that you've accomplished. First of all, I'm a fan of anything black and excellence, period, point blank. I've been in this business for 25 years, marketing, communication, the whole nine, but then I see people like yourself that are really making a change, because there's a real term out there, and I don't know if they still use in the advertising world, called non-urban dictates, right? Non-urban dictates meant that these advertising companies intentionally would make reasons why not to buy black media. Then something happened in the last 10 or 15 years. Beyonce selling the world, Jay-Z selling the world, right? Rihanna, billionaire, Kanye, and now you can no longer ignore the influence of our people. But tell me that that struggle is not still real, that you still have a problem getting these deals done. Talk to us about how that's going.
Yeah, I would say that I think the easy sell is what you just did. I think that most 55, 60-year-old white CMOs understand that Black culture is driving global pop culture. That's why they will go do deals with a Drake and a Jay-Z and because they understand the power. What's missing in those connections is that they often are going for the celebs, who are already good, like good financially, economically, et cetera. But they're missing all of the Black creators, all of the Black influence that exists. And so what we're excited about at Revolt is taking advantage of that unlocked opportunity. And so when we talk about building the world's largest, most powerful storytelling engine for the Black diaspora, we are absolutely talking about not partnering with 5 creators, 10 creators. We want to partner with thousands of Black creators. We want to unlock brand money for thousands of Black creators because we know inside of us is genius. We know that when we move, the world moves. And so it's really about trying to get brands to take their eyes off of just kind of like that 1%, the celebs that they know, and put money back into the community who have the same power to impact.
What you're doing is not easy.
Thank you, brother.
And that applause is warranted because there are plenty of people like you, Duke undergrad, Stanford MBA, work with Chrysler, Jeep, all these amazing brands, and they go and work for one of these corporations and they hide for 30 years, get the gold watch, and they're like, okay, I'm good. You are unapologetically out here saying, big brands, you need to do business with our people, right? Why are you taking that chance in your career?
Yeah. So because the math is really screwy, right? So we just talked about how Black culture drives, you make the number up, 80% of global culture, 70% of global culture, I really don't care. The number is a big number, right? But when it comes to Black media, the number is we only get 1% of their marketing spend. We get 1% of their advertising. So that gap is so ridiculous. So why are we out here being bold? Because they're bold enough to create the gap. If you think that we run culture and we drive global culture like that, and you think it's okay to then only put 1% back, reinvest 1% back into the media, it's not right. And so our chairman is big in this notion that like now is the time for us to make bold moves. Now is the time for us to walk in the boardrooms and tell people what it is. And the way I see it from my perspective is, I feel blessed every day I wake up. And the reason I feel blessed is because this will go down in history as one of the most massive racial awakenings to happen in this country. And for whatever reason, God saw fit that Detavio Samuels was here in this moment. And so I feel blessed. I feel the opportunity. I believe that the window is short. Since this thing started, like Puff has always been on like 3 years to do it all. You know, I might say I was hoping for 4, right? But I know that the window is short. And so if you take those things, in order for this moment to happen, COVID had to happen. The entire world had to shut down so that they can witness and watch the murder of George Floyd, which then shifts the algorithm that exists. And we are here in that moment. And I happen to be leading this company that is led by a chairman with a very disruptive vision. And so for us, the only answer is to walk in and say, the time is now. The time is now to make bold action. The time is now for us as a community and as a people to hold brands accountable, to partner together. So often we're partnering with people outside of our community to get stuff. Now is the time where we hold hands and lock in, right? So anyways, that's the energy. That's the message. And yeah, last thing I'll say, just to repeat it, you guys are all here for a specific reason and moment in this time. I think it's up to all of us to figure out what to do with it. And then how do we maximize the year or two that we have left?
Does everybody know who the chairman is he keeps mentioning? Okay, so the chairman he's mentioning is Sean Puffy Combs. This Revolt he's had to own it for about 10 years. It's about 10 years, and it was around the same time Magic and his group bought Aspire, right? And there was this kind of forced sell it to some Black folks. So who we gonna sell it to? We're gonna sell it to some Black folks who got the money, got the reach. How is it to work for Sean Combs?
So many ways I can go with that question. Where do I want to go today? Working with Sean Combs is an incredible experience. When I was at my last company, one of the biggest battles my mother and I used to have is she used to say, Detavio, you don't dream anymore. And I used to fight her back and say two things. Like, yes, I'm still dreaming, but I also just felt like I'd gotten at that point where like you dream and you dream and you dream and then you don't see those things manifest. So I would say like whatever it is, there's like whatever the adage is, like man makes plans and God laughs. So it's like, why am I dreaming when none of the things have come to fruition in the way that I would have expected? Okay, so fast forward and put me underneath Sean Combs. The man only forces me to dream. He only makes me dream. And it is one of the most freeing spaces that I've ever been able to be in. And so I'm grateful to him for that. The second thing about him is we as a people do not have many examples of what it means to be free and black. Whether it's because we're, for whatever reasons, Sean Combs shows me every day what it's like to be black and free. He doesn't move unless he wants to move. He lives the life that he wants to live. He lives that life unapologetically. And when I think about like my Uber life goals, one of the ones is to be free. I want to be the freest version of Detavio Samuels. I want to unlock that. And so to be able to sit underneath an earthly king who is demonstrating and showcasing what freedom can look like is also an incredible gift. And then the last thing I'll just say is like, he's magic. His cultural IQ is something like I've never seen. Right. His visual aesthetic is incredible. You see him in the studio doing what he does. You'll never see anybody do it the way that he does. His ability to get us into rooms that move, he's magic, he by himself. The last way I'll summarize that up is it's been really good for me as a spiritual person. Why? Because spiritually, we talk about a king who is up there, but sometimes that can feel distant. The difference is when I walk in a room with Sean Combs, I'm walking in a room with an earthly king, and I see how mountains move, and I see what's possible. And then I wake up and go every day, if that's what's possible with an earthly king, then my God, what's possible with a godly king, right? So he also, in working with him, I have gotten deepening of understanding of like my spiritual walk and who my God is and just more confidence, right?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I guarantee you many of us be like, hold on, this is the same Diddy that we know that take that, right? Right? But I look at it and I recognize what that brother has done in the last 25 to 30 years in this industry, right? I always, you know, and obviously I'm looking at it from a distance and said, people don't understand. Diddy put out an album to sell something. He put out music because it's a product that is associated with that. Whether it's an artist, whether it's a brand, whether it's the culture, he's always been very intentional with that. When I heard you were going to Revolt, to me, I was like, that's a perfect match. Because I watched how the brand of your previous employer changed. And it seemed like that timeline was right around the same time you were there. And I said, yeah. And no knock on that group. Radio 1 is an amazing, they've done some amazing work for the last 45 years in the culture. They're the only black-owned radio group still to this day. But like you said, you get to a point where, like you said, I could see it. It was restrictive, right? I can't see Puffy restricting nothing.
Nah, if anything, he gonna tell me it's not big enough. Like, if anything, he gonna tell me dream bigger, make it 50% bigger. I don't even know what that is. Make it 50% better, though, before you come back, right? So anything he's gonna push. And I wanna punctuate your point about Sean Combs and how a lot of people, I don't think, see him right. Or at least I wanna say people don't give him his fair credit. Right. So in the last 2 years since I've been there, this is the way that I see it. Every day, Sean Combs wakes up, and when he sees a problem in the black community, he comes up with a solution to solve it. He done talking, solutions only. So we need to own our own narrative. He just let Revolt go free. Y'all be the boldest, strongest, most disruptive voice. Why are we the most disruptive voice? Because we had the chairman that enabled us to and allowed us to. And to your point, I might not have been able to make some of those same moves if I was somewhere else, right?
Absolutely.
Black folks couldn't get PPP when COVID hit. So they launched the business. Sylvia right here ran that business, right? How many millions of dollars did we help black folks unlock for PPP? 20 million? Did I make that? Yeah, several million. Millions of dollars that we help black folks get, right, for PPP. here, we're getting ready to launch like a Black Amazon. One of the biggest problems is you can't find Black merchants on the internet. Everybody's saving IG pages and all that stuff. Not anymore. It's going to be a Black Amazon. Every time there is a problem in the Black community, our chairman is trying to come up with a solution to solve it. And I honestly don't see many people doing that. And so I'm big on making sure he gets his fair credit and his just due for what he's trying to do for our community.
That's big, because a lot of that stuff I'm sure many of us didn't know. You know, and that's the thing. It's so funny when I watch the culture and how we move. Yeah, he hasn't put a. When you start seeing Jay and Sean and these people making less music, they're making bigger moves, right? You know, that's what we have to keep an eye on. Don't expect a new album from Rihanna no time soon. That girl's a billionaire in the cosmetic industry.
There have been 8 Black unicorns in the last 10 years. Unicorn meaning billion-dollar companies. 8 in the last 10 years. I think there's been 400 in total. Rihanna was number 8. Yeah. Wow. Don't look for the music. She one of the only Black unicorns on the planet. Yeah, she's not worried about the music.
Yeah, we gotta celebrate our culture. For people who haven't had the opportunity to check out Revolt yet, because here's also the game that some of us don't understand, but I do. You got to search for Revolt on most of the cable dials, right? So I'm encouraging you, do your search one good time, put it in your favorites. I love Black Revolt News, man. I love what you guys are doing with that show. You recently relocated Black Revolt News here to Atlanta. Why did you make that move?
Yeah, so the chairman Revolt Black News is the chairman's vision, and it was always supposed to be more than a show. And I think the vision originally was developed 2 years before COVID hit. Essentially, he was looking at the news and seeing that in politics, the news had only become political, that people were talking red and blue, but nobody was talking Black. It becomes exaggerated when COVID hits. I'm literally with a client in May and she's telling me, well, COVID's almost done. Like everything is good. And I'm like, not for Black and brown people, right? And so at that point in time, it must have been April, our chairman was tired of nobody addressing what was happening for Black and brown people. And so we launched Revolt Black News, State of Emergency. We brought all the athletes, all the celebs, all the doctors, all the nurses to have one big conversation around what COVID meant for our people. We were not ready to launch a show after that, but that was show number 1. And so from that point on, we just started building. In order to build, a couple of things had to happen. We had to hire a Black woman. Why a Black woman? Because I believe at the end of the day that we live in a caste system and Black people are at the bottom, and I think Black women are at the bottom. And so what's beautiful about the people at the bottom is that they see everybody's pain. It's much harder, it's much more difficult to see pain down, but it's much easier to see pain up. And so we specifically wanted to put a Black woman in that seat so that she could be our moral compass as we were looking at the news and how we wanted to critique and analyze it. So we hired a Black woman, Monique. She could be at CNN, she could be at MSNBC, but instead we brought her here to Atlanta, gave her the keys to a studio and told her make magic happen. And so Revolt Black News is not just a show, it's actually a business for us. And that business is in the business of telling 2 types of stories. One, stories where the Black perspective is unseen and unknown. And so most recently we just launched a show called Black Girl Stuff. It's a Black girl talk show. Think of it as The Real or The View, but for more Gen Y, Gen Z Black. Nobody has heard that voice, and they're talking and they have something to say, and someone needed to give them a platform. That's Revolt Black News. The other piece of it, which you're getting ready to see, is we want to tell all of those stories that they've hidden, all those stories that they've made invisible, that they don't want to tell about our culture. We don't want to tell the story of just Darson. We don't want to just tell the story of Black Wall Street. We want to tell the story of the hundreds of cities that got burned to the ground after Black people were making it. Mansa Musa, the richest Black man, the richest man on the planet. Did y'all know that the richest man that ever lived was a Black man? Who telling that story? Inside of our history are not only documentaries, but there are blockbuster stories. And so Revolt Black News Studios exists to tell those stories. Let me do one last thing and I'm gonna be done rambling. Because I think for me it's important that we understand why we're taking on this strategy. So if you look at the Revolt vision, what we would say is our vision, our purpose is to shift the narrative for Black people globally. We would say our mission, our way of doing it, our how, is by building the world's largest, most powerful storytelling engine. Revolt Black News is a critical piece in this notion of like, how do you shift the narrative for Black people globally? Because at the end of the day, I believe that the war on social justice is largely a war of imagery and storytelling. And if storytelling got us into this mess, then storytelling is going to be the key to getting us out. You can't shift their policy. You can't win the policy war. You can't win the economic war. You can't win the healthcare war until you win the narrative war. Until they see us differently, they won't treat us differently.
Right.
And story is the way to get people to do that.
Brother. You dropping some gems. But this stuff is important, man. It is so important that we have a platform. The game has changed now with the internet. We want to buy these networks. We want to have these networks to get the reach. But there's a lot that can be done without. We look at Black Twitter. We look at, you know, brands like Clubhouse that have been built off of the backs of our creativity and our conversations. And so now we have this vehicle that you're creating. You're now getting into the podcasting space. And that sounds to me that has something to do with getting those thousands of creators out there a voice. Talk to us about that.
First of all, I'll give a shout out to Sylvia, who I see, and Aki, who is in here somewhere in the very back, slacking. Yo, you know like how you always have like one bad kid? I'm sitting here looking. This is all Revolt. If anybody wants to meet with anybody from Revolt, come to the front row. Except for Aki, who's all the way in the back acting bad. I don't know what's going on with him. Okay, so to the podcast network. First of all, I would say that the podcast network was a natural evolution for Revolt. If you look at our content strategy and the content that we're making, the format that we are most heavily invested in is talk. In fact, not only would I say that we are mostly a talk show network, I would say that we have built the definitive talk show network for Black conversations. We have the top hip hop podcast on Revolt. Drink Champs, which was #1 forever until we launched Carisha Please. And now Carisha Please is the #1 podcast in Apple Music and has been #2 or #3 globally, right? So we're already in this game. Every show that we make in video, we automatically produce something in audio and push it out in podcasts. So we've already been here. So this is really about exactly what you said. We don't want to just be for the Carishas. We don't want to just be for the Drink Champs. We don't want to just be for the Fat Joes. We want to be for all of these Black creators who are sitting on incredible ideas. We want to be the place where they can express their genius freely, unapologetically, where they can walk into people who have green light power and see the whole story. We don't want people walking in and saying, I'm a Kappa, and then having to double click 3 times to help somebody on the other side understand what it means to be a Kappa or an Alpha, right? We want to create that world. So long story short, a large part of building out the network was how do you go from 10 to 1,000? You got to start aggregating and pulling creators in. So you're 100% right on that. What else do y'all want to say about the podcast network? The dream is clearly to build the world's largest podcast network of prominent Black voices from across the world. And I keep saying that, like, you'll see a lot of stuff from us in the US right now, but our push is really globally. At the end of the day, there's 1 billion people in Africa. So you can go to war with 50 million in the US, or you can go to war with 1 billion plus 50 million.
That's something also I've noticed has been intentional with Revolt, man. You guys in Revolt Black News, I was learning about stuff that was going on in Sudan. I didn't stuff that I didn't know. Every single episode. Yeah, there's international news that's going on. You have international programming, videos, man. Shoot, the Africans, they taking over R&B right now. They some of the dopest.
Afro beats crushing.
They crushing it. So to that end, and I'm asking these questions very intentionally because, you know, this is a room full of entrepreneurs. And one thing you just said, this stuff is not hard to create content. Now, to get exposure for that content, you have to be consistent. Got to stay consistent and continue to do the work, right? But we look at it like as a Gen X, you know, I'm a little bit older. I'm a Gen X, right? And I tell people when I'm counseling my clients, we have to unlearn perfection. As a Gen Xer, we don't want to put nothing out if it's not perfect and the edits are perfect and the spot got to be exactly 30 seconds. And millennials, and they just like, yo, I'm going to grab this phone, and I'm going to put it out. It got 1 million views, right? Talk to us about the value of just being consistent in creating content and how that's helping all of us, obviously with Revolt being near the top, but all of us kind of in the same ecosystem.
Yeah. Where do I want to go with this? I'm going to talk about Carisha, and I'm going to talk about Aim for Done, And I'm going to talk about, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so Facebook has this idea that is not about don't aim for perfect, you aim for done. Because the truth is, you don't know what your idea is supposed to be until the world touches it, kicks it, kisses it, talks about it. You don't know. And so many people are spending a ton of time working things through their mind. And I'm like, no, push that joint out and let the world react. Guess how many hours we had? Guess how many days we had to plan and shoot for Carisha?
A week.
Puff called at 11 a.m. We shot at 11 p.m. The show probably aired the next day. And when the show aired, again, the #1 show, no marketing, no nothing, no marketing, no planning, no nothing. The #1 show for Apple Music podcast, the #2 show in the world, above Ben Shapiro, above Rachel Maddow, above New York Times, above. This was a show that was shot with 12 hours notice, 0 marketing dollars. We put it out to the world and we watched them react, and they exploded.
Wow. Wow. Did y'all hear that? That's And here's where I'm going with this next question. Now, obviously, she's a great influencer. She had a platform coming in, right? No matter your size, whether you've got 100,000, 5,000, 15 million, how can entrepreneurs leverage, from your perspective, whatever influences they have in order to make their content valuable to them in their business and lives?
Sure. At the end of the day, I believe very strongly and passionately that the future of media is influencer. That people at the end of the day will care more about Cardi B, Carisha, Meg Thee Stallion than they ever will ABC, BET, and I hate to say it, and even a Revolt, right? Which is why our entire strategy is a talent-driven strategy. Our entire strategy is about finding the talent who has that platform. I'll use it this way. Most people make TV shows by making a show, coming up with a show idea, and then going out and finding the talent to put into it. Because we believe the future of media is influencer, we start with the influencer. We go find that influencer, we take them into the studio, and then we create the show together. It's much more like a music process as opposed to a TV process. So one,
it makes sense because of Diddy. It's Diddy's vision.
100%. We steal so much of what we do from music, so much of what we do from music. And what we're talking about. So there we're talking about
the influencers and leveraging.
Yeah. So one way you could do it is just the influencers that you have. How do you partner with them? How do you leverage them? One of the things that I'm really big on is not just leveraging them just to say, hey, post this for me or let's do marketing for me in this way. How can you actually build something with them so that it is a win-win and so that they are naturally inclined to share and talk about it? So when you look at Revolt, there's not one show that we've made with a creator where that creator doesn't have some sort of profit participation, equity participation, that type of a thing. So guess what happens? When we launched the Drip Report with Jim Jones, go look at Jim Jones' IG page. You think I'm begging Jim to post? Nope. He posting all day long because Jim getting money if it works, right?
Absolutely.
Go to Drink Champs page, go to Noriega's page. When you build something with them that is less transactional and more around partnership, they will be there for you. The first time I ever really saw someone do the strategy well was Beats by Dre, and they gave a bunch of equity to people. Diddy got Diddy beats, Kobe got Kobe beats, LeBron got Power beats, and you just saw beats take over, right? And so very big believer in ultimately leveraging that strategy.
You know, that's something that's such an anti-greed strategy. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, I'm gonna give LeBron whatever he wants. You want 5%, you want 8%, you want equity stake, what do you want? Because I know as soon as he goes in the playoffs and got those beats in his ears, they're gonna fly off the shelves. Not because Lee Iacocca or what's my man used to be with Dre, Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy Iovine can walk up and down Beverly Hills and most people are not even gonna recognize him. But they're gonna recognize Dre, they're gonna recognize LeBron. And so now we're starting to see these black influencers leveraging that to a tremendous amount of wealth and influence that I love how it drives the corporate community crazy. Yeah. You know, as soon as LeBron comes out there and makes a move, it drives them bananas. Yeah. As soon as Jay-Z makes a move, it drives bananas, and it drives me every day.
Because we are finally recognizing as a people, and maybe it's starting with our celebs and hopefully coming out, but again, we have the juice. We literally have the culture. And make music without us. Let me know how that goes. Make a movie with us. Play sports without us. Go put a football game on without us. Basketball without us. We have all the leverage. The difference is we have not found ways to work together and to partner together and to harness our collective power. And so that is the movement and the moment that we're in right now.
What role will Black entrepreneurship play in our liberation, from your perspective?
Yeah, so I'm super big on entrepreneurship for sure. I believe that wealth building is critical to Black liberation all over the globe. I'm assuming that because many of us are business entrepreneurs, et cetera, that we share the same kind of thoughts. So instead of going deep into that, what I want to say is I think we've entered into this moment in time. The team and I talk about this all the time. We've entered into this moment in time where people are not just buying brands for their products, but they're buying brands for their values. They want to know, not only are you making a dope product, but you are helping with the revenue I give you, you are helping to build the world that I want to build. And so in that world, there's this incredible opportunity for us to not just create companies, but companies that are engines for transformative change. Like we say all the time, like REVOLT is not a media company. It's an engine for transformative change. We gave $50 million to Black employees, showrunners, producers, agencies over the course of the last year. Most Black media companies aren't even $50 million in revenue, right? We want to use change. We're going to bring on, again, not 10, not 100, but thousands of creators. Like, how do we use our business? How do we drive business while also driving change? I sit on the board of Ben & Jerry's. They have a very similar model. They would say, oh, no, we are a transformative brand that just happens to sell ice cream. And so when I think about Black entrepreneurship and the opportunity for it to create change in this moment, I think the opportunity is for the people in this room to think about, not how do I just make an extra dollar selling whatever we sell, sneakers, cookies, media, et cetera. How do I sell that cookie, sell that, but also build my business so that it is an engine for transformative change, not just for me and my family, but for all of us. I think that's the opportunity, and consumers are saying that's what they want. Consumers are saying, I am choosing the brands I want to shop based on their values.
Two more things. I want you to talk about the REVOLT Summit coming, that's coming this weekend, actually. And then also I want to give you the last word or anything you want to close out with.
Oh, man, last word. Okay. REVOLT Summit. Everybody in here should come. That's first and foremost. I'm so excited about the summit this year. This is our first year back. So 2020, we got hit with the COVID year, was virtual. 2021 was still slightly COVID, so you can only let so many people in the building. We're still running up against that a little bit, but it's larger. But this is the first time we feel like we are back. We have an extraordinarily exciting theme. The theme for this year is what we've been saying this whole time, the future is now. And what we're trying to convince these young generations that the future is now to make bold moves, to take bold steps, to make bold progress. We're not interested in like small change, but like revolutionary change. And so the entire programming is designed to excite them about the future of culture, commerce, connectivity, all of the things that are important to us. What you'll get is the same thing you'll always get: big names, Rap Radar, Elliot and B. Wilson interviewing Gucci Man. Out of Atlanta, we've got Big Facts, DJ Scream, Baby Jade, and my man Big Bank interviewing Boosie. We've got, what's my other big one? Assets Over Liabilities. If y'all don't know those brothers from Earn Your Leisure, it is the dopest wealth building platform for Black people that I think exists, and they're interviewing Master P, and I think that conversation is going to be incredible. And so you'll get the same big names that you're used to getting, but a couple of things that are new. This year we're bringing a gaming camp on. We want to figure out how to change the face of gaming. And so how do you do that? We're going to bring a whole bunch of Black people into a space, let them play games and entertain themselves, but also try to capture the insights that'll help us build new businesses. We changed the format a little bit. We've added 2 different things. So you'll get our podcasts that always kind of show up on stage. You'll get master classes and panels. But this year we've added 2 things that I'm excited about: TED Talks and kind of like keynote speeches. These are kind of short, 10, 15, Tamika Mallory talking about the future of community, 19 Keys talking about the future of community and commerce. You're going to have big people to the future of hip hop, the future, right? Like just big, massive conversations. What else is new? Anything else that's new that I should mention? Y'all here. Oh, yeah, we'll have a commerce village. So again, we're not just trying to aggregate Black people in the content space, but all Black creators. And so we're preparing to launch this thing, Revolt Black Market. As a way of doing that, we are creating a marketplace. And so you'll be able to walk in and buy Black and shop Black. Puma gonna be there. They got some dope stuff too. Is there any other brand in there besides Puma? Okay, there's some surprise ones coming. So anyways, come to the summit. You're gonna be able to shop. You're going to see the dopest conversations that you've ever had. You'll be able to network, and you'll have the time of your life.
I lied. I got a question about the metaverse. Because I know y'all talking about the metaverse. I know y'all talking about it. Yeah. What's going on with the metaverse?
Okay, so the answer is I don't know. But you are right in that we're talking about this. So the way that we see it is the brief is pretty broad. We know, I want to back up. Unfortunately, Black people have missed out on every major economic boom in this country. We missed out on the tobacco and the cotton boom, not because we weren't there.
Right.
Right? We just didn't get paid for it, right?
Right?
We missed out on the housing boom. They wouldn't give us loans. We're missing out on the cannabis boom because they locked us all up and then they're all flipping the industry and doing it for free, right?
Right.
We missed out on the tech boom in the 90s, right? We didn't have the access. So I say all that to say, here is a new opportunity. It is clearly going to be a thing. And so what we've done is hire the best and the brightest minds to say, go tackle this problem with the core brief of how do we usher hip hop and Black culture and Black creators into this new world order. Web3, metaverse, NFTs. Somebody told me they're talking about Web5 now, right? Like, I don't have the answer today, but what I promise you is we will find that answer and it'll be locked in for Black creators. And whatever we build is going to be for us and y'all.
Yo, this... We got time. We got time for 2 questions, maybe from the room. Anybody got any questions? Main man right here.
All right,
Don't ask me nothing hard.
No, I can't promise that. But I want to say thank you for your time and for contributing such powerful information. We were just having a similar conversation with this young lady about disruptive technology, right? And how throughout the past and history, we haven't had access. And because of blockchain technology, Web3 decentralization, we now have access to, financial tools and systems that we were traditionally kept out of. And so my question is, as far as culture, right? Black culture drives like global culture. And so what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence, Web3, and these different technologies that are now being developed to where you can essentially kind of create or develop culture through code at scale? I know you probably heard of the AI rapper that was signed to the record label. And so I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on the future of like Black people and their physical relevance as it relates to being able to create culture, especially since now you can kind of develop culture through code behind a computer, essentially.
Yeah, at some point in time, we're going to flip to the point where our digital lives are more important than our physical lives. There already is in a little bit, right? Like we take pictures and we put filters on that make us look like nothing that we look like. And that picture is more important than who I am in real life, right? We tell stories in our Instagram stories and present a certain face, and those stories are more important than the story of our real life. And so at some point in time, we will get to a place where it'll flip, where our digital lives are more important than our physical lives. That's one. 2, without question, mainstream understands the power of Black culture. That's why that rapper was created. So what we know is, they will go build and try to build our culture inside of these worlds, in Web3, in Metaverse. They will take that upon themselves, hence the rapper. What's important to me is that we make sure that we build theirs. There's gonna be a Wakanda in the Metaverse. Who gonna own that? Somebody to look like us or not? There's gonna be massive hip hop worlds, cultural, all of them being built. And again, our digital world will matter more than our physical one. Who's going to build that? Who's going to own that? Who's going to make sure that Black people get to participate on the things that are being built and being created? So the future's coming. I see it. I just want to make sure that we are in a position to have ownership and to participate in a really big way.
Got one more question? How much time you got?
Well, she held me till 8 at least.
Okay.
Yes. My question is, early on in the conversation, you mentioned the word failure.
Failure.
Yes. Would you mind sharing a gut-wrenching failure that you experienced and how it pivoted or catapulted you in a way that propelled you that you couldn't see in the moment of that gut-wrenching failure?
All right, I'm going to talk about my career, and I'm going to talk about millennia and see if either one of those work. First of all, I fail all the time, and I just believe that I will never, ever fail because I don't fail until I quit, and I'm never going to quit. So I don't have failure as an identity. I have failure moments. So some of my failure moments. I told you that I was starting a company coming out of Stanford called Millennia. It was designed to help people of all people find their purpose and passion. We were invested in by Google, Yahoo, some of the top people at eBay who got money. I thought that I was going to be a billionaire really early on. You can see that that didn't work. Millennia, we kept on for maybe 3 or 4 years. And when it died, what I can say is the pivot for me, what I got out of Millennia, how to build a company as an entrepreneur, understanding all of the reasons that I failed. We were building a tech company. We had, at one point in time, we had front-end coders and no back-end coders. At one point in time, we had back-end coders and no front-end coders. But I never built the infrastructure right to get the, right? So now I have all of these learnings. So when I'm building something at a Revolt, I'm borrowing from all of those lessons that I learned from some of those failures. The other one that I'll just say broadly is my career. And while I would have never said that I thought my career was a failure, coming out at Stanford at 25, thinking I was going to be a billionaire by 30, or like my goal was definitely like millionaire by 30. By the time I'm in my 30s, I'm like, man, what is wrong with me? You know what I mean? And it's like everything I was doing, I felt like I was hitting my head against the wall, trying to create companies and launch companies while running companies and being paid by other people. Anyways, the headline of that now. It is impossible to see the future. The dots only connect in reverse. Now that I sit in this seat at Revolt, I feel like God was preparing me the entire way. I started out at Johnson & Johnson. Now I know from the inside what a client wants. Now I know from the inside how clients do strategy, pick agencies, do that work. I went to Global Hue. I learned the power of creativity, the power of ideas. Revolt needed to build an internal agency. I've had 8 years of agency experience. I went to work for Kathy Hughes and Alfred Liggins. The very first thing I did was build an agency. Had a lot of failures. Now I'm doing the same thing over here, but without all those failures, because we learned a lot of lessons along the way, right? The other one is I was running digital for Kathy Hughes. Revolt was a cable linear business that needed to go digital. Well, now I got 6 years. So I'm saying all of that to say, like, all that time when I thought I was bumping my head against the wall, all that time when I thought personally I was failing, all of that was just God preparing me for this moment. And so that's why when you hear me talk, I'm like, I am so blessed. I'm blessed because of the moment and the opportunity that we're in, but I'm also blessed because I feel so well prepared for the seat that God has positioned me in.
I didn't see you standing there. You had talked about earlier about having the largest Black-owned podcast network. So we know that Westwood One, Podcast One, HubSpot Network, they're not really trying to put us on. So what would be the criteria for podcasters to get on the REVOLT network?
Aki, if you weren't all the way in the back, I'd bring you up here to answer that question. No. I'm gonna let him give you the probably like the real answer, and then I'm gonna give you mine.
Repeat the question.
What's the qualifications for getting on REVOLT?
A heartbeat, melanated skin, creativity, and that's about it, and a good idea.
No, he's really, I mean, we have podcasts that are doing millions of people every time, like a Carisha, and then we have some podcasts that are probably doing, what, like 5K or something? We're betting on potential. The challenge with Black creators is not that we are not capable. The challenge with Black creators is that we don't have the resources or the support. And so Aki and Sylvia review all the people who are applying for, and then we bet on potential, and then we wrap them up in love. And when I say we wrap them up in love, I mean everything from providing them with marketing services so their stuff looks better. Now we can run them on everything from audio to YouTube to cable TV. Like we have an ecosystem to amplify their voice and promote their voice. And so why we think we're better than any of the people that you name is because none of them have what we have, including the love for our people and our culture. Right now, we have a goal to make sure we're always paying them more than the other people. So if you come with us, you're going to make more money, and you're going to get the support, and we're going to watch you shine. And what's beautiful is that I didn't get to when I was talking about the podcast pieces, we have a dream of being able to nurture creatives from throughout their whole career of their like creative life cycle. And so now what we can say is we can take creatives who are starting off in podcasts and we can watch them build and we can watch them pop. And then those ones that are popping, we can take the digital video and we can watch them do their thing and we can watch them pop. And then those ones that are popping, we can create a REVOLT original series like we did, right? And then those who are popping, I don't know if y'all just saw it, but we used to carry the Fat Joe show. We took Fat Joe from Instagram to REVOLT and then just inked a deal with Stars, right? So again, REVOLT is not about us or another Black man getting rich. It is about all of us. We are happy to tell that story about Fat Joe from REVOLT to Stars, ink that deal. We're gonna be happy to send folks to Netflix, or if they were a part of this machine, then we would just feel like we did our job.
Can we give my man a round of applause?
Miguel, you gonna let me get 30 seconds? Can I get it right now? Okay, so Miguel started, but I want to do it like this. I want to acknowledge the shining example of Black excellence that Detavio represents. Give him another round, please. My man. No, we appreciate you because you're coming back to the community and giving us this valuable time. So thank you so much. Now, a few acknowledgments before I give the mic back to Miguel. Miguel and I do this thing with the mic. You come to chamber events, it's like, he got it, I can't get it, I got it, he can't get it. But listen, brother, David Walker, Atlanta Black Chambers member, David Walker of Star Walker Industries, Black-owned bottled water company. So I want you to, you don't have to drink it now, but take it with
I'm gonna
you.
drink it.
All of your team, please get one of the Positivity waters, David Walker, he's attorney David Walker, Star Walker Industries. We appreciate him providing the bottled water for us. And then another acknowledgement, I have to do this for my people. We are here at Kit Labs. And I know for some of you, this may be your first time in this space. And so we're glad that the ABC could introduce you to Kit Labs. So I want to acknowledge ABC member Zach Farley and his partners who run this very nice venue, giving us another space in our rotation as we do events and activities. We want places to go that are Black owned. So shout out to Zach Farley. Thank you, Miguel. I'm out.
And before I'm out, before I let Miguel go, I just want to say closing thank yous. First and foremost, thank you, brother. Thank you, King, for inviting myself and the REVOLT family to be here with all of you. We're here in Atlanta because there's a lot of love. Everything, like, and I felt it from just being in the room, from the handshakes to the introductions, like there's a lot of love. And what I want you guys to hear back is we got a lot of love back. We're building here for a reason. It's not just for content. We need to hire, you know, a production takes 20 different types of people. We want to hire Black caterers. We want to hire Black cleaners. We want to hire Black interior decorators and designers. And so we are here to say, REVOLT is here. We got a building. It's real. We're here I'm here every single month, but we're building out a team. Anything that touches the community, production, marketing, events is happening here in Atlanta. And so my hope is that this is the first of many meetings. We have everybody from our CFO, COO, to our head of sales, to our head of biz dev, to our chief of staff, to Bronte, who produces my life. Talk to them, exchange information, tell them what you need, and if we can be helpful, we would love to be helpful. Thank you for having us, not just in this room, but in your city, in your state. We are happy to be here.
Hey, man, I just... I just want y'all to know that this is genuine. This cat right here, it took one text. Hey man, when you coming to Atlanta, I want to interview you for our show for the Chamber. He said it's done. I'm talking like it was probably midnight or close to it. He immediately put me on the email trail with his team and said, make it happen. So I want to appreciate you, brother. This is real. You know, there's a lot of folks need to know what you're doing and know that it's going to change the world. Having folks like you, having folks, you know, all over within that corporate space, we need y'all. And so we need to make sure we support. And before I go, there's a few people. My barber, what's up, bruh? My man, Saint. So if you need yourself a barber when you're in town, we always got, I can hook you up. There's plenty of people, locticians that are in this room. There are real estate people in this room. There's caterers in the chamber, you name it. We got it. So we're looking forward to Revolt becoming part of the chamber family, and we're going to keep you guys locked in. Thank you for everybody. We're going to be here for a while. Make sure y'all network. Don't, you know, let Detavio slip out the back door. His team is ready to go. They're ready to go eat. But I'm sure they're ready to hang. But thank everybody for tuning in.